Welcome everyone to this week's episode of In the Know with Cat Bobino. Today my extra special guest is coming all the way from Florida, and I want to welcome Dr. Chris Crawford. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. So can you tell us what your work is on?
Okay, so my work falls at the intersection of a field called brain-computer interfaces and human-centered computing. So to just say it in a summary, the stuff I work on is how do we push forward the field of BCI technology from a human-centric perspective. So a lot of people are familiar with some of the traditional stuff that's been done in the medical side. And recently, there's been increased amount of technology that you can kind of get off the shelf to get into the area of brain-computer interfaces. So my research investigates how can we leverage that these two fields together so that we can kind of bring this technology to the masses.
Okay, so this work that you're doing, these things that we can pull off the shelf, are you saying that we have technology already that we interface with that medical doctors are using all the time, but now we just need to integrate it more or understand how we interact with it more? Or what are you saying with that?
So basically, we have devices that range from a BCI device, a brain computer interface device that you can go buy at Target for between $200 and $400 that can give you readings of the same things, but of a lower quality. So if you go to a hospital and get medical grade devices hooked up, you get more quality. But this is the first time we've even been able to kind of get this technology, period, in our home. So it's really exploratory. You can't get medical grade analysis in your home, or if you do, it will look really weird. However, we're at a turning point in the technology where people ranging from Elon Musk to Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg actually just put out a release yesterday talking about the forward implications of the technology. So it's not quite it's just perfect and everything is well with the technology right now. But for the first time in history, to be honest, you can get a device that can start to go down that road of leveraging your signals from your brain. That's from a hardware perspective. I don't develop the hardware. This hardware, like I said, you can go and buy it off the shelf, order it from Amazon. What I focus on mostly is how can we create software, and that really serves as the interaction point between what kinds of applications you can create and use that leverage these signals from the brain. So that's kind of where my work focuses more on the software and application side.
Okay, okay. And with the software that you are creating or possibly working on, this is software that can take that $200-300 equipment from Target, but make it better and make it easier for you to get the information you need? Or is this software that hopefully in the future we'll be able to utilize?
So I think the best way to understand the perspective or the angle that I like to approach BCI software in general is to think about your keyboard and your mouse, right? You have a keyboard, and we've kind of got really comfortable with this concept of I can open up applications, software like Microsoft Word and type up a paper and use the mouse.
Right.
It just comes second nature to us. But at some point in time, these word processing applications never existed. However, we've always had kind of like things typed till you had typists, and you had the one where typewriters even before you had digital displays.
Right.
So you always had the input device. However, over time, the software developed and evolved to make our jobs easier. So if you look at so what I like to do is say, think of the BCI device similar to an input modality, similar to a mouse or keyboard. Right now, we don't really have the word processor application that matches the BCI technology. So how can we how can we move the technology forward by leveraging the hardware that we have and finding new avenues or new types of applications to make our lives easier.
Okay. Okay. I can understand that. So basically, we have the hardware, we just don't have the software yet. And
Yeah.
that's what you're creating is that software.
And we have software. However, the software over the past couple of decades has been mainly targeted toward BCI experts, computer scientists or neuroscientists looking for specific things more in a research domain or specifically for some type of theoretical contribution. Um, with my background in kind of human-centered computing, we look at, okay, if we turn this from a user-centered perspective and talk about how we can design technology to assist people in their everyday lives, and you say, okay, what I want to do is make that as easy as possible, then it leads you down the road of trying to, like I said, create that application that could potentially stand in the place of a word processor application in the field.
So when it comes in the medical field and creating software that can help identify a problem or, help someone figure out what's going on in their body per se, um, how does that take away from the jobs or what people are doing in the medical field? For example, and I'm not even going to say that this is even remotely coming anytime soon, but what if you had the technology at home to do an x-ray of your arm? Then you wouldn't need x-ray technicians or the people who's in the hospital doing this. All you need is someone who can read the x-ray, right? So do you see that as like the future of what we can do with this type of software and technology?
That's a very good point. It reminds me of kind of the horse and carriage phenomenon. You need someone, like, maybe
Right.
everyone doesn't know how to drive horses, and maybe people don't want to drive anymore. And to say that that isn't a real possibility, it could definitely happen on down the road. I think the first phase that you will see that you won't have a kind of this complete replacement of jobs. You'll just have things that make people jobs easier. So instead of kind of having to maybe work the equipment, you'll have to work the assistant. You'll have to work the equipment. You'll have to work the applications that talk to the equipment through like this online process. So similar to what we're doing now, we're not physically in the same place. However,
Mm-hmm.
we're communicating virtually. So you may talk to that same person, that technician, however, they may be miles and miles away, and they may walk you through and say, okay, now put the device on, and then
Mm.
I see the readings. The field, the technical term for that is called telemedicine, right? So that's
Mm.
one application. So I don't necessarily think that this technology is going to start replacing jobs and people are just going to be out on the streets. No, I think the way we go about it and the way we interact from a human to human interaction perspective may take on more of a distributed nature, if you will, since you have this technology at home. But I don't think that uh, immediate job loss will be kind of direct byproduct of that.
Okay, that's understandable. I can see that, and I didn't even realize telemedicine was a thing now. But I guess it is. I've seen commercials, especially out here with our Kaiser,
You
where you
you will
can.
see it very soon.
I believe it. No, I've seen a commercial where you can now take a video or a photo of your ailment, send it to the doctor, and the doctor can respond via email or text or however they respond, and tell you either it's this, go get some ointment, or come in.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert in like a medical expert or anything, but that's how I see the technology moving forward from a computer science perspective, and a little that I do know about, kind of the human aspect of it.
Okay, I can see that. So then, what got you interested in going into computer science, but also having this human, not human, but psychology or human anatomy version of going into computer science?
Hmm. That's actually, if I kind of stumbled upon what I'm kind of focusing on right now. I started off doing robotics research at the University of Alabama, and I was an undergrad there. I had a professor, Monica Anderson, at the University of Alabama. I took her course. She said, "Hey, you should do research." I said, "What's research?" And she kind of just showed me. She kind of showed me, and we were doing kind of research with drones and all kinds of applications and software to broaden participation in computer science and stuff like that. So I kind of the way I actually got involved in the research aspect of it with working, I also do kind of this human robot interaction research or brain robotic interaction research, where we kind of take that same brain computer interface technology and investigate ways to leverage it with robotics. However, prior to that, I declared a computer science major. I just liked opening up computers. It's like this classic case of liking to tear apart
Yeah.
radios and computers and tinkering around. And the how I really got started with my interest in computer science is my aunt gave me a computer. She just gave me one of like an old computer just laying around in the garage, and it's like, hey, here's a computer. And I had it for a while, and then like something wrong happened. It crashed, and this was before you had like
For like Geek
Google.
Squad.
Yeah, Geek
Yeah, before
Squad
you
was
had the
long
people you
after
can
this.
take it to.
Yeah, it was long after Geek Squad. I want to say, at least where I was from, it was no such thing as Geek Squad. Google wasn't really like a thing either, so I kind of just started hacking around in the terminal to try to format the drives and reinstall the operating system. And that kind of appealed to me. It was almost like a puzzle. And that was the very first time I knew, or I had an idea about, oh, I think I might want to go deeper into this.
Okay, so trying to fix your computer yourself and reformatting it, and then that in turn, when you went to college, you thought about robotics. Though you were
I never thought about.
oh,
Actually, I went when I went to college. I was just programming. I was going with the flow. And my teacher asked, was I interested? I guess she thought that I was okay at programming,
you must have
and
been
she
pretty
had
good.
yeah, when she had, I don't know, she had a robotics program, and that kind of got me started down the road that I am right now. Yeah.
So like this road that you're on or this pathway, it's a combination or interdisciplinary of computer science, robotics, and human interface or psychology, right? Is that the combo?
I'm sorry, you broke up. I heard
Oh,
at
okay.
the very tail end, I think you were saying the combination. So the combination is right now what I tend to focus on lies at the intersection of brain computer interfaces, which is the technology capable of measuring electrical activity in your brain, and human computer interaction, which it deals with a host of things, but at the core it investigates the interaction between humans and technology. Um, that can take on a whole different. It can be, like I mentioned, user experience,
Mm-hmm.
usability. However, usability, user experience. People think about, well, hey, if this software, if I can do my job fast and quick, is good. But also, we want to think about, well, do I enjoy using it? So it has many layers. But at the core, you're going to evaluate these things from a human centered perspective. So instead of just stuffing technology down your throat, first I want to talk to you about it and interview. Hey, well, how do you normally handle this task? And then
Mm-hmm.
going from there and borrowing kind of these concepts from the field of like psychology, we go and say, how can we use similar processes to analyze a human's needs, their
Mm-hmm.
wants, and how can we design the technology to directly address those things, which we found out by following concepts and methods that you would normally have in some type of psychology concept context.
Okay, so you're including psychology into technology, talking to people, seeing how they interact with their own personal computers, laptops, tablets, whatever the case may be. But then you're also looking at the brain interface. So then that falls under the neuroscience or anatomy physiology side of it. So have you taken a lot of courses in that, or how does that intertwine into computer science?
So a lot of the work that I've done doesn't necessarily, or a lot of the coursework, let's step back. The courses for specifically kind of the brain computer interface technology that I work on, it really is, it's not a course. I had a colleague who taught a course for the first time last semester. So he kind of sat down and said, okay, we need a course for this stuff, and created it, right? However, this is not something you can sit down in a course and learn the methods and the kind of the fundamentals of kind of BCI technology. However, most of those courses right now will ultimately focus on the technology from a medical perspective. So it kind of takes us back to kind of where
To
we
the
were, I
tech
think maybe
side.
even before, right? However, kind of the research I'm trying to craft and going about now is mostly, I say, a few researchers around the world are looking at, hey, how can we create these non-medical applications, or how can we apply this technology for non-medical application? That's not necessarily something I might teach a course on that when I in the next few semesters. However, that's not something that's ultimately drafted now. So it's kind of, I will say, it's bleeding edge. The
Okay.
technology has been around since the early 1900s, but now we're seeing an emergence of hardware companies that's making it feasible to actually buy 5 of these devices and say, here, class, let's talk about how we can create these novel non-medical applications. And by the way, you can learn kind of the fundamentals of the technology as you go. But
Okay.
for me personally, this wasn't something that was kind of this organized curriculum that I learned. I kind of learned it as by reading research papers, journal papers, and kind of talking and collaborating with colleagues.
Okay. And so for me, I come from a science background, biology background, but mostly dealing with wildlife. And I know there's a lot of research dealing with human interactions, but we're starting to use more computers, more technology to identify things happening in the wild, and identify things happening with the animals, how they're interacting with the climate, how they're interacting with, soil, grasses, all of that stuff. And this may not be your field, but how do you see technology and how it can interact with our wildlife counterparts, or how we can start using technology like this to help identify issues or create solutions to problems?
I think so. It's a old saying. I can't. I'm ashamed I don't know it, but it's the 3Ds. And I'll kind of talk more about my robotics works in this perspective. If you have things or tasks that are dangerous, dirty, or dull, right? So I can imagine you may be able to think, or maybe have cases where you would like to go to places where these animals are, but they may be a little too dangerous.
Right.
Or it may be places that you want to go that if you go, you'll get really dirty, or or it could
Right.
be dirty and dangerous. And I think technology could potentially assist with sending out sensors or sensing, whether it's camera feeds, or whether you're just trying to measure some type of pH balance in the water, or some type of environment, or even get assessments of the weather. Maybe you can have, maybe there's things about the environment that you're interested in. And I think ultimately, and across all sciences, I'm pretty sure you need data, right?
Right.
So anywhere where you need data, I think you can sit down for a few minutes and start thinking about, or me and you could sit down and you can tell me some of the problems. I can say, well, we can maybe send this out and send that out, and it'll give you your assessments on this, and you can write it up, and that's your scientific contribution. That's one of the things I've seen happen just being around interdisciplinary work. Technology offers us the opportunity to get data a lot of times that may be difficult otherwise,
Right. I
and,
mean,
and speeds up the process of analyzing it as well. So
yeah, one of the things that I've looked at before is GIS, and using
yes,
GIS and using
yes,
that to identify changes in the atmosphere or changes in the earth. And like you said, some places could be dangerous. For example, we have a small, or not a small, but a decreasing number of silverback gorillas. But some of the places they live is like the Dominican Republic of Congo, where it's very dangerous for foreigners to come into and try and do the research.
right,
But I
right,
mean, you
exactly.
do need someone, even if you like GIS is one thing, but you
Mhm.
do need someone, right, to go into the Congo first to put the cameras or to put the trackers on the gorillas or to do.
You could use a drone, but people have different perspective of drones. I don't want to go down that slippery slope. However, but you could use a drone in some of those cases. It's there are researchers at the University of Texas A&M that worked on kind of going into these disaster zones of search and rescue robots. So there's a huge branch of robotics that works on exactly those cases. So I think
Okay.
with the use case that you mentioned specifically, that's the first thing that comes to my mind about
Is
that.
using a drone
Well,
to
not
do
using a
so.
drone, but just using any type of technology capable of sending back some type of useful information for whatever problems or hypotheses or questions that you may have about a particular thing. It can be a drone, it could be aquatic robot, it could be a ground robot that crawls around. I mean, it could be a host of things, but
Okay.
yeah, it's a vast amount of opportunities for technology to help, like in a lot of cases.
Okay. So currently you are in Florida, and how did you just finish your PhD?
I'm in the middle of finishing right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, but which is
right.
really cool. Like you're almost done, but you've already secured a position at the University of Alabama. And
Yeah, it's isn't public yet, but I guess it's public
oh,
now.
sorry.
It is kind of public, but
my
I got the shirt on. Yeah, I mean, so
my apologies. So anyway, what are you planning on doing at the University of Alabama, and what do you foresee yourself researching and finding students? What do you want to do at the University of Alabama?
I definitely intend to continue evaluating this concept of using uh, mobile wearable BCI devices to assist us, or to assist people in various um, daily routines, whether it's kind of detecting drowsy driving, or whether it's just kind of giving us a better idea of what type of mental or affective state we're in. I think those two things, that's research I began while I was here at the University of Florida, and there's a few things I want to continue. Specifically, I'm excited about actually releasing a software platform aimed at people who may not be computer scientists, who may not be very, very good at programming without kind of C++ and Java stuff. However, this platform is aimed at kind of lowering the barrier to entry, if you will, to
Okay.
BCI. So instead of using text-based languages, you can use a visual interface to start. I just like to say tinkering around with the technology and coming up with your own creations. And I look forward to releasing that and doing further research and modifications to that software platform.
Well.
Those are the two things I know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
and that I can kind of share right now
Yeah,
because those
that's
things
fine. That's fine.
are mainly public.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, it'll be in those kind of domains.
Okay. Well, if you need a beta tester, because I am computer illiterate, and I know everyone needs to know technology in the future from here on out. Like, everybody needs to know something about technology. So I need to be that person and start slow, I guess, or take a
Awesome.
computer
We'll
science.
get you a VCI device sent out, and you'll be able to load up the software from your phone and computer, and you can have at it.
Man, as long I need to learn anyway. I'm willing to learn. I just know that I'm coming from a way low area
And
of
that's our target
expertise.
audience. It's funny. That's exactly who we're targeting. So
Okay,
great.
good. And so, we in our remaining time only have two more questions for you. The question I'm gonna start with is, what you're doing with your work is amazing and going into technology, but outside of this work and outside of getting ready to defend your dissertation, what do you do for fun? What do you do outside of tech and outside of research?
So outside of research, so I have my acoustic. It's funny you ask because I tried to play the acoustic guitar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I music is kind of something that I I do outside of my research. Nothing really serious.
You can go ahead
I
and
feel
play something if you want.
it's out of tune. I would. It's so out of tune. Yeah, it'll take me time to tune it up, but so yeah, I think that's one thing. Relax, man. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, relax. Music and relaxes right now. That's kind of what I like to do. I like gaming and stuff, but a lot of times I'm developing games, so kind of you have to split
Right, so
between it's just
you're going
work.
back in tech.
It's yeah. So and I do other things that people probably wouldn't think is like outside of work, but I think is outside of work. But yeah, but music would be that one thing I think that I like to do outside of work.
Okay. And then the final question is, if there was someone interested in what you were doing or interested in learning more about it, like what advice would you give a student who possibly would want to follow your footsteps and do the same type of research?
Oh, the same type of
Or
research? That's interesting.
similar research.
Similar research. Okay, similar research. The first step I think is learn how to program. Um, you get a lot of people. I have a bunch of friends who say, "Oh, I have this great idea," and they tell me the idea, and I say, "Yeah, I could do that. I don't have time to, but I could do it." However, if you start early with learning how to program, and you get to the point of you're interested in STEM, learn how to use the fundamental tools that present to the world the Facebooks, the Twitters, or it doesn't even have to be software. It can be hardware. You can get into tinkering around with microprocessing boards like Arduino or something. A hacker, this whole hacker thing that's going on now. Get into some of that stuff. Learn the low level stuff because it's one thing to be able to kind of say, oh, we could do this and we could do that. And it's a different thing to actually say, I'm about to do this and I'm about to do that. And part of kind of how I am where I am today is because when that idea came, I knew how to apply it and make it into a real thing. So I think learn how to program, keep programming, and have a creative mind. If you combine strong technical skills from a programming perspective with a highly creative mind, that's when you get some of your most innovative solutions. And everyone who I know personally and who I read about, that has always been two key components that have served them very well. So that's what I would say.
So if you're open and very creative or into STEM or however the case may be, but just learning the program is something you would say.
That's the foreground. That's the foreground. I mean, learn if you to me people might say that, oh well, you don't have to do that to do, or you can have a different route. For me personally, uh I got a very good understanding of how to do the technical stuff first, and I like to say that I may be somewhat creative, maybe not the most creative person. However, I'm creative enough to dream up things. And this, I can't describe the feeling of being able to dream something up and know exactly, like, okay, I know exactly the tools to make that happen. I know how to apply it.
Right.
Um, if you get to that point, I think you'll do really well for yourself. And no matter what route, whether you want to do a more entrepreneurial route, stay in an academy like me, or even go work for Fortune 500, you'll do anywhere you decide to land. If you kind of go with those two pillars, I think you'll do well.
Okay. So on that note, I'm gonna try and take some online programming classes because I always have ideas. I have absolutely no way of executing them because I don't know how to make an app or anything.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's like when they say programming languages, it's so real because if you think about, there's a lot of lost knowledge that may, if we go very here, we go to the history side. There's a lot of lost knowledge that's maybe attributed to a failure to be able to convert Greek to Latin, or these people in this
Right.
country never got it, or we never got this because it was written in a lost language and we don't know what it means, right?
Right.
I think that's the same thing. Where you have this idea and you need to know the language to actually express it. From a technology, if it's a idea about technology, learning the language will help you express it to the world, and that's how you have to look at that. For
Okay.
me personally, but I have a very biased opinion. I have a computer science background,
Right.
so other people may, and that's totally fine. But that's kind of how I look at it, from my perspective.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out tonight to being on the show because you're 3 hours away. So,
But thank you for inviting me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you enlightening us on your very biased ideas of computer. Not just playing, just sharing what you do. And so, hopefully, if there's anyone out there who wants to learn more about what Dr. Crawford is doing, you can always send me a message. I will send it to him, and try and do an introduction because we definitely want more people going into STEM, and we want to encourage more of our youth going into STEM. So, until
Exactly.
next time.